Hi, my name is Melissa, and I want to welcome you to tonight's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I wanted to let you know that, again, if you stay till the end, we're going to do it right, Jim. We're doing a raffle tonight.
Yes.
Yes, so if you stay through our Q&A at the end of the presentation, you will be entered in a raffle to have a 30-minute consult with the coach of your choice. So it is a fantastic prize. All you have to do is stick around after the presentation through the question and answer session. So as always, I will be doing a presentation tonight on strategies to promote speech from nonverbal children and emerging speakers with ASD. I ask that you hold your questions until the end. I'm going to open it up for live coaching at the end, and I will do my best to answer as many questions as I possibly can. If you're worried that you might forget your question, you can certainly post it in the chat box. And I will definitely check the chat box before I start answering live questions, and then I will be happy to open it up to you guys for live questions. So without further ado, let's get to our presentation about strategies to promote speech from nonverbal children and emerging speakers with ASD. Now, this happens to be one of my specialties. This is totally my wheelhouse. I've been in the field for more than 30 years. So I have worked with just about every population of kids on the spectrum and adults on the spectrum and teens on the spectrum and babies on the spectrum that you can think of. I have seen a lot. And when I started in the field, I worked for a program where it was a specialized school. And this was way back in the early 90s, where a specialized school for kids with autism served the most intensive, the kids with the most intensive needs. So they were mostly nonverbal, very, very behavioral. And we did ABA all day, the whole time they were in school. Walking from one area to the next area was a goal. So that's where I learned a lot about getting nonverbal kids to start speaking. And I can't tell you how many kids I've been there for their first words, and for some of the kids for their first functional sounds, which is part of why I love my job so very much. So this is an area about which I happen to know a lot. I just want to start with the caveat that this presentation is your starting point. Okay, these are all the things. If you have a child that is nonverbal, or you have a child that is an emerging speaker, these are all the strategies that you should start with first. Okay, if you try all of the strategies that we're going to review in tonight's presentation, and your child still isn't making sufficient progress with their speech, then we would try some more intensive interventions. And we would use things like behavioral momentum and differential reinforcement. And we would come up with a plan to start with manned training, which is teaching a child to make some requests. But for many children, if you just start with the strategies that are in this presentation, many people will see progress with speech, emerging speech, and then you can go from there. You can see how far you can get with these strategies. And then if you need more intensive interventions, then you just come right back to us and we work on those as well. So without further ado, let's talk about some strategies for promoting speech.
I remember when I got pregnant with my daughter, I felt so grateful and so blessed. And my life up to that point had been pretty rocky. I'd had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. And I finally thought that I was turning a corner and God was blessing me with this beautiful gift of a child. And I just, yes, finally something was going in my way. And then when she was born, she was just absolutely perfect. I had all of these dreams and expectations for her. I thought of all the things that I thought she was going to do. Yeah, good girl. Right after her first birthday, I started to notice her behavior change. She went from, saying that, she was obsessed with Dora the Explorer, Mama, Dada. She was saying it all. Good girl, say that. Hit all of her milestones up to that point. She walked at 1. She was eating solid. She just, she looked really good. And then I just remember her, it felt almost overnight or very quickly where her demeanor just changed. She went from this super happy baby to crying and tantruming, just frustrated all the time. And I remember saying to my mom one day during one of these tantrums, like, where did my happy baby go? But I didn't think anything past it. I think I was kind of not ready to fathom that something could be off, even though maybe the telltale signs were there. Dressed. Honey, gotta get dressed. Gotta get dressed, honey. Time to get dressed. She started to lose the words that she had named. She wasn't saying mama anymore. She wasn't saying ma'am. She just seemed really disconnected from us. Instead of playing with her toys, she would take them, dump them all out of her toy box, and just start twisting them around her hands needlessly, with no intended purpose. Really kind of in denial about it. And then I remember one day we were in the middle of a store, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just started screaming and yelling like somebody had slapped her. I don't even know what the problem was, and I was so mortified. I didn't even know what to do. I was so scared. I literally just left the half full cart in the store, picked her up, and just ran out of there. I never went to that store again. I just didn't even know what to think, and that was probably the first time it really kind of stung for me that maybe something is wrong. They diagnosed her. They didn't diagnose her right away. They said that, she was too young for a diagnosis. I didn't even know what they meant when they said that. I was like, diagnosed with what? I just had no idea what they were talking about. And then they said, we'll come back in if you're not seeing progress. And I said, okay, and a couple months later, I'm watching these speech therapists play with her on the floor. I'm not seeing any progress. It felt like she was getting a little worse. And then we went for our 2-year-old wellness visit. And the doctor said that she was behind if she wasn't using 20 words with intent. And that was probably just the knife to my heart. At that point, I really couldn't deny that something was up with her anymore. So then I called the county back in, and then she was diagnosed on the spectrum. And I remember that day, and it was worst days of my life. It was my darkest hour. I could easily say that as a mother, as a woman, as just a human being. It was probably one of the hardest times I had ever gone through. And I remember just being I went from being so happy with God, so thankful to be so pissed at doing this to her and wrecking this beautiful gift he had given me. And for a while there, I struggled. I struggled to figure out what this meant or what we were going to do or how this was going to define her. All those dreams I had for her future were just completely shattered. And I had no idea what was going to happen next. And I went from just hopeful to just complete blank when I thought about the future. One night I was thinking, I'm going to die one day, and who's going to care for her like her mother? And something about that thought just snapped me out of my depression and my anger and my fear and said, listen, we got to get to work here. I promised that when she was born, I was going to be the best mother I could be to her. And that promise, it hasn't changed. In fact, she needs me more now than ever, not less. She needs me now more than ever. And I didn't know at the time what we were capable of, but what having those changes, that mindset shift for me was going to do. But I wanted to know that at the end of every night, I could look myself in the mirror with confidence and say, you do everything you could to Michelle to give her the best possible life. And if the answer was yes, then that was a good day. And I wanted the answer to be yes, 100%. And no matter where the cards fell, I know I could leave this earth saying I gave her everything I had, no regrets. And as I've navigated this world with her and walked away that day after having that thought, I really just grabbed the bull by the horns. I became her fiercest advocate. I'm not a special education master's degree teacher. I don't know I never had any formal training in ABA, but I knew that I was going to learn whatever I needed to learn to be really strong for her. And Juliana had lost all of her language. Cheerios? You don't want Cheerios. Okay. She was nonverbal when she was diagnosed. Okay. Want some? We taught her sign language. Show me. Juliana, show me. Then she went from sign language to word approximations. Then she started to speak. The most restrictive preschool environment. She was in a 614, most restrictive preschool, special education preschool environment you could be in. To now where she is almost 8 years old. She's in the second grade class in a gen ed school, integrated class with typical peers. She speaks beautifully now. What did you like about the troll experience? She has a personality. She has conversation skills. There's still things that we need to work on, but for the most part, her future went from lack to now having possibilities. And none of that could have happened had I not kind of gotten out of my own way and really hit the ground running and started to take action for her. And I can't say that I do that for every parent I coach, but what I can tell them is I will have them feeling like I did, looking at myself in the mirror, you looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I was everything I could be for her today. I have no regrets. And whatever happens, it happens. It's really for us as parents to know we fulfilled the duty that we promised when we had these children, which was to be the best versions of ourselves, to live, to raise these children. I've helped now hundreds of mothers, coach them one-on-one to do the same things I did, to help them to be strong, to help them to craft plans where we're seeing constant progress. This is what I want to do. I want to give you the chance that Juliana's had. I want to give you every opportunity to give your child that kind of
Dear Juliana, today you are with a day full of happiness. Thanks for and great times. I hope you will remember. Happy birthday, love, King.
Oh, I say it every time. I love that video so much. So we're going to talk now about some strategies, as I mentioned, some initial strategies that we use to get nonverbal kids like Juliana was to becoming verbal like Juliana is. And I have to say that I've been in the field for more than 30 years, as I mentioned before, and through my own professional experience and through research that I've read, the kids who are the most successful, the kids on the spectrum who have the best prognoses, the ones who make the most progress are the ones whose parents learn how to do these things, who are involved with the program, who actively work with their children, who maintain contingencies, who make their child speak before they give them something, or only reward their child after they've met a certain criteria if they're working on a specific skill, etc. For the parents, for the children whose parents kind of rely on the therapists to do all the work, the behavioral therapists to do all the work, and the BCBAs to do the programs, but aren't really engaging or observing those programs or learning how to do the same thing that the behavioral therapist is doing or that the BCBA is doing, or learning how to manage those behaviors outside of session, those kids don't make as much progress as the kids whose parents are learning those things and are as involved. Like Michelle said, she wanted to be able to look herself in the mirror every day and say, did you do everything you possibly could today to make things better for Juliana? And if the answer was yes, it was a good day. So we're going to teach you the strategies that are going to enable you to look in the mirror every day and say, yes, today I did everything I could do to promote my child's speech, to promote my child's appropriate behavior, to enhance my child's social skills and play skills, etc. It's not going to happen overnight, but using these strategies will make it happen eventually. Okay, so the first thing to talk about is before your child speaks, right? When we talk to parents in general, and when researchers have spoken to parents, of kids with autism, they've identified wanting their child to speak as their primary goal for ABA therapy. The only one that comes close is addressing behavioral issues. Those are the top two priorities held by most parents of kids on the spectrum. Now, please understand that a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder does not mean your child will not speak, okay? And I also want you to remember that not speaking verbally is not the same thing as not communicating, okay? You can give a lot of communication non-verbally. You can sign, you can use an augmentative communication device, you can gesture, you can write things down or type things out. There are a lot of ways to communicate your needs while you're learning this process of communication as a child on the spectrum. Think of it this way. If you suddenly had to learn a brand new language, so if you don't speak Greek, you have to learn how to speak Greek. Okay, if you don't speak Japanese, you have to learn how to speak Japanese or Mandarin or Hebrew or any difficult Russian, any difficult language. Okay, you have to now learn how to speak that language. It's going to take you some time, but if you immersed yourself in a culture, like you blink your eyes and suddenly you are in the middle of a culture that only speaks that language, and you have to communicate with them until you learn how to be fluent in that language. How would you do that? You would do that through gesturing towards things that you want. You would do that through your facial expressions to show like, yeah, that's a good thing, or no, that's not what I'm looking for. Or I'm sick, or no, I'm happy, so, or tired. So you would use other means of communicating until you became fluent enough. And then you might start to pick up some words, and you could start peppering those words in, and then you'll start to pick up some more words, and you'll learn the grammar and the syntax, and before you know it, you'll be having communication where you're only accentuating, like I'm doing with my hands, and adding to your vocal verbal speech with those other nonverbal ways of communicating. So the first thing to analyze is how much is your child communicating with you right now? Does your child look at you? Does your child smile when you enter the room? Do they look for you when you leave the room? Does your child demonstrate challenging behavior? Most of the time, developing a functional communication system in and of itself significantly reduces a lot of those problem behaviors. And that's because the challenging behavior can be a means of communication in and of itself. That behavior is telling you that the child is either having trouble doing something, needs help with something, doesn't like something, is afraid of something, is overwhelmed by something, wants something, etc. So once we're able to teach your child a more functional way of communicating those same needs, most of the time, inappropriate behaviors that were communicating those same things will now dissipate because there's a more appropriate way to get those needs met. And since it's more appropriate, more people in their environment are more likely to respond to those attempts at communication. So now that you've thought a little bit about before your child speaks, before we start working on teaching them to speak and teaching them to communicate better, but specifically teaching them to speak, we have to assess your child's readiness skills. So these are some skills that show that your child is ready to start working on speaking. Your child is starting to ready for that emerging level of speech. They're like right before they're going to be ready to speak. Are they doing these things? Because these things are the things that are going to get your child ready to speak. So does your child imitate or attempt to imitate big gross motor movements? Do they imitate small fine motor movements? Does your child babble? And when they babble, is it like interactive or is it stimmy? Like, are they babbling to interact with you? And are they doing it more because you're smiling and you're babbling back to them? Or are they just as likely to babble when they're by themselves in a very like stimmy way, not necessarily in a communicative way? Does your child sit and attend to you for a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes? Can they sit and really attend for like 3 to 5 minutes? What are your child's play skills like? Will they sit and play with the toy functionally for a few minutes, or do they just bang toys together or line them up? Do they try to play with you, or do they not allow you to take a turn or share their toys? Are their play skills repetitive? Are they imaginative? Do they pretend in some way, etc.? Does your child follow directions? And do they follow them consistently? Do they follow them quickly? Do you have to tell them 3 or 4 times, or do they follow directions the first time you ask them? Does your child echo other things? Like, do they imitate words or scripts from movies or videos or songs that they like? Do they vocalize and you can tell, like, if they could articulate properly, they would be singing this song, right? So is your child trying to echo other things? If your child does imitate gross motor and some fine motor movements, especially if they will attempt to imitate a new movement, that's the really important piece there. You can teach your child to imitate a gross motor movement. Like when I say do this, I can prompt and reinforce a child to teach them to imitate what I'm doing. But after I've done that with them for a few different movements, if I model something totally new, like do this, will the child at least approximate how to try to do that, even if it's not perfect? That shows generalized imitation. And that's really, really important to get a nonverbal child to being a verbal child. Does your child babble in a non-stimmy way? That's the beginning of language development in general, right? Kids start to emit a lot of different sounds in general. And when they start to babble sounds that are meaningful to us, we're more likely to respond to those sounds. So if a child is just babbling on their own, they're going ka, da, pa, ba, la, da, ma, ma. That sounds like mama. You're more likely, if you're that child's mother, a primary caregiver, you're more likely to be like, oh, hi, it's mama, that's right. Mama, say mama again. Or if they're like, ba, da, ba, sa, ba, da, da, da. Oh, dad, that's right, it's dada, say dada again. So it's through attending to these combinations with our attention and the child seeing that and being excited that you're excited by that, they're more likely to do that again in order to replicate that interaction with you, right? On that very basic level. They're more likely to say those sounds that are become the words that we want them to see. So babbling is really a key sign that your child is like on the verge of being able to start to speak. Stimmy babbling is different. It's a stim, and that you kind of have to break that and teach totally different sounds. So sometimes that stimmy babbling actually gets in the way. If your child doesn't sit and attend for a few minutes, they're not going to be able to attend to your language instruction. So it's really important that you build those skills up first so they can sit and attend for a couple of minutes. And getting them to sit and attend while playing is a really good way. Play is really important. It's important to language development. It's important to social skills. It's important for imaginative and creativity. So getting your child to sit and play appropriately with toys teaches them to sit and attend to a task for a period of time. It teaches them some cause-effect relationships, and that's what we need them to understand. If I want that chip, I need to say chip, and if I say chip, then I will get the chip. My saying chip is the cause, and the effect is I get the chip. So we need to start teaching some of those cause-effect relationships, and teaching them through play is really effective for emerging speakers. Following directions, again, goes right along with attending, and again, being able to do some of the things that we're going to need them to do during this instruction. So working on some basic direction following as well will make your child more likely to be successful with going from being nonverbal to being verbal. And if your child does echo other things, but they don't ask for the things that you're trying to get them to ask for. So they will sing along with Peppa Pig, or they will imitate videos from their favorite Avengers movie, but they won't ask for a cookie when they want a cookie, or they won't ask for the bathroom when they want the bathroom. If they are echoing those other things, it shows that they have the ability to hear language and reproduce that same language. And that's a good indication that we will be able to get them to imitate the language that we are modeling for them once we make that language really important to them, like by holding things contingent on that language. But we'll get to that. Here are several strategies to increase communication, okay? And we'll go in further detail about each strategy. You can encourage play and social interaction. You can imitate your child. You can focus on nonverbal communication. You can simplify your language. You can follow your child's interests. You can consider assistive devices and supports. You can provide opportunities for your child to speak, and you can increase the motivation for your child to speak. So let's talk about each one of these in detail. Encouraging play and social interaction. This interactive play provides enjoyable opportunities for you and your child to communicate to each other. Engaging your child in a preferred activity and make frequent sounds and vocalizations that are associated with that activity. So if your child loves cars, play with them with cars, roll the cars around and make crashing sounds and driving sounds and beep, beep, crash, boom, so vocalize with them. If you're playing with the farm animals, make the cow go moo, moo, make pig go oink, oink, make the dog go woof, woof, whatever. Just add some vocalizations, simple, repetitive vocalizations to that play. If your child imitates any of those sounds or they babble, make sure to give a lot of praise and attention and positive reinforcement to that. You're not requiring them to imitate anything, but if they happen to do so spontaneously, make a big deal about it, because it is a big deal. And if they know that's what you're looking for, they'll be more likely to do it again in the future, right? Once they imitate you once, we know they can, and we can set it up so that they will. Over time, your child will associate fun sounds with that activity, and they will be more likely to imitate or spontaneously make those sounds by themselves when they're using those toys in the future. During your interactions, position yourself in front of your child and close to eye level, so it's easier for your child to see you and to hear you. That's really important. We're much bigger than our kids usually, and it can be difficult for them to really attend from that angle to what your mouth is saying. So if you only saw me from like this angle all the time, it's a lot more difficult for you to imitate what my mouth is doing right now. But if I'm looking at you straight on this way, it's a lot easier for you to be able to imitate my mouth because you can see it easier. It's more on your level and it's right in front of you. Another strategy that I mentioned at the beginning is that you can imitate your child. Mimicking your child's sounds and play behaviors will encourage more vocalization and interaction. It also encourages your child to copy you and take turns. Make sure you imitate how your child is playing, so long as it's a positive behavior. So, as an example, if your child rolls a car, you roll a car. If they crash the car, you crash yours too. But if they throw the car, you're not going to throw your car. You're only going to imitate the appropriate behavior. And they'll start to see that cause effect. I do something, you do something. If your child makes a sound, imitate that sound back to them. After you do this several times, they might find it a fun game to lead your behavior. And over time, they might start to initiate that by doing it back to you. They might extend that time that you're imitating them by starting to imitate you as well. And it can become like, again, a back and forth thing. Now, again, it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen for every child, but it's a good place to start because for a lot of kids, this is very successful. Now, you also want to focus on nonverbal communication. Gestures and eye contact can build a foundation for language. Encourage your child by modeling and responding these behaviors. So, exaggerate your gestures. Use both your body and your voice when communicating. For example, by extending your hand to point when you say, look, and nodding your head when you say yes. Those will emphasize what you're saying with your child. And if they're not able to imitate the vocal verbal part of what you're saying at first, they might be able to imitate that gesture. Use gestures that are easy for your child to imitate. Examples include clapping, opening your hands, reaching out your arms to indicate being picked up instead of just picking your child up because you know they want to be picked up, but we'll get to that too. You want to respond to your child's gestures. When your child looks at you or when they point to a toy, hand it to your child immediately, like take the cue for you to play with it. Similarly, point to a toy that you want before you pick it up. So again, your child is saying, oh, mom wanted that ball. She pointed to it and then she got it. I want that train. So I'm going to point to it. And lo and behold, mom gave it to me. I got it too. That's a good way for me to let her know if I want something. If I point to it, she'll usually give it to me. So model what you want to see your child doing. And they will be more likely. A lot of times we only model the verbal stuff that we want our kids to do. But if you're also modeling the gestures and the facial expressions and the pointing and things like that, they will be more likely to use those things until they become fluent in that language too. Remember when you blinked and you found yourself in the middle of a country that speaks a totally different language from you, you would be doing the same thing. You would be imitating gestures and movements and nonverbal communication until you became more fluent with some of the words, some of the phrases, some of the expressions, and then eventually the syntax and the grammar. Another strategy is to simplify your language. Using simple language helps your child follow what you're saying and makes it easier for your child to imitate your speech. I always recommend using the 1-up rule. You model one word more than what your child is currently using. So, if your child is nonverbal, try speaking mostly in single words. So as an example, if your child is playing with a ball, you say ball, or roll, or bounce, or throw, okay? You don't want to say, Oh, you're rolling the ball so nicely. Wow, look at you bouncing that ball so high. Too many words, too many words, too many words. It's like, again, if I was speaking to you in another language and you didn't understand that language, all of those words, you're not going to know which word means ball. Like, that's what you want. And you need to figure out that word so you can use it again in the future, right? You need to know how to say water, how to say bathroom, right? How to say help, how to say feed me. So you're hoping that they're going to stick to those salient words until you figure them out. It's the same thing for your child. It doesn't matter if they can say, oh, you're doing this so now, that all of those words are extra at the beginning. If your child wants a cookie, you want them to say cookie. If they want milk, you want them to say milk. Once they can do that, then you can build up to want milk. I want milk. I want milk, please. Mom, can I please have some milk? Like, it goes in a process, right? So if your child is nonverbal while you're doing fun interaction, I'm not saying that you can never speak to your child in more than single words, but especially while you're practicing language instruction with your child, you're taking a half an hour out of your day every day to focus on working on getting your child to be more verbal. During this time, use the one-up rule. Whatever your child does, whatever you're doing, label it with the one word that describes that activity most saliently, okay? If your child is speaking in single words, up the ante, speak in short phrases. So if your child will say ball, now you could say roll ball, throw ball, give ball, red ball, whatever. Okay, if your child is speaking in 2-word phrases, then you start modeling 3-word phrases. Okay, if your child is speaking in 3-word phrases, you probably aren't necessarily as concerned with developing emerging language. You're probably looking on building their language. But again, you could use the one-up rule and start modeling forward. So again, as your child is making progress, you're going to up the ante, but just by 1. Because if we're trying to get your child to go from not using any words to using 5, we're setting them up for failure. Like, that's just not going to happen. We have to do it in small steps, one at a time. And again, we want to model what we want your child to learn so that they'll make that association. Every time they see this thing, they say cup. Or every time they say this thing, they associate it with juice, right? Or with drink. So that way they know when they're thirsty and they want this thing, they can say cup, or they can say juice, or they could say drink, right? And before they get to the verbal part, they could point to it and show. They could show you a picture of that cup and get it. But we'll get to that. You want to follow your child's interests. So rather than interrupting your child's focus to try and get them involved in like language instruction, you don't want to make it seem like work. Like, chances are your child is like, who is really excited? I mean, I'm excited about work, but in general, when you say work to a child, they're immediately going to be like, no, 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 because it doesn't sound like it's going to be fun, right? Play is fun, work is not. Work is hard, play is fun. So we don't want them to picture this, especially at the beginning, as being work. It's already hard for them. So unless we make it seem fun, they're already turned off to this. Okay, they're already getting their needs met somehow. Okay, either by crying or by tantruming or by you just trying to scroll through a bunch of things until you figure out what it is they want. They are getting food, they are getting liquid, they are getting cleaned, they are getting dressed, like they're getting their needs met. We have to make it fun because this is already hard for them. And since they already have something that is working for them, why should they change that? This is working for me. What you're asking me to do is hard. It's definitely harder than what's already working for me. So if we make this more fun for your child, they're going to be less averse to it, right? It's going to be less of a turnoff for them. So using the one-up rule, narrate what your child is doing, something they're interested in, even if it's watching a video or playing a video game or looking at something on the iPad. narrate what they're doing. And again, use the 1-up rule. So if they're nonverbal, narrate with one salient word. If they're using one word or they're starting to use one word, narrate using the noun and a verb, okay? So if they're playing with the shape sorter, you might say the word in when they put a shape in the slot. You might say shape when they hold up the shape, and dump shapes when they dump them out to start over. You might label the shape. You might say star or square, etc. By talking about what engages your child, you'll help your child learn a vocabulary that's associated with something that they're interested in, with something that they want to do anyway. Like if your child is into the shape sorter, chances are they're going to try and play with that every day. So now if they have some associated vocabulary with that activity that they're going to use every day, they'll be more likely to use that vocabulary with this thing that they already like. So you can put together a box or an album of pictures of things your child enjoys. Look through the pictures, labeling them, and pausing for your child to imitate your model. Reinforce if they imitate, but don't require them to imitate. Because again, this is just a fun activity, right? So you can scroll through pictures on your phone or on the iPad or on the computer, or you can print them out and laminate them and put them in a special album that you guys sit together in a big comfy chair and you look at together and you narrate, your child is interested, and it's a fun, positive activity that's associating language with fun, positive interactions with a caregiver. You also might want to consider assistive devices and supports. Assistive technologies and visual supports don't have to take the place of speech. They can foster its development, okay? Studies have shown that using an augmentative device with your child correctly will make it more likely that they will speak. It doesn't make it less likely. A lot of parents are like, but pushing a button is way easier than using your voice. So if I let my child just push the button on the iPad, they're never going to develop speech. That's not what the research has shown. It's shown that your child is now making an association between communicating with other people and it affecting my world in some way. So when I push this button that says chocolate, and chocolate magically appears in my hand, I'm learning that communicating with somebody changes my world in a positive way. When I need help and I push this button that says help, somebody helps me. Like that's associating communicating with somebody in a positive, functional way. If they don't have that basis, they're not going to want to try to do something difficult like speak, right? But once they have that association, we're going to use procedures with those assistive devices that are going to make it more likely that your child will speak. And I do a workshop on PECS where I show some video of this, where a child is using their PECS book and the facilitator is modeling. And over time, the child just starts imitating, even though it wasn't required, it was just modeled and then it was reinforced. And before you knew it, it was happening and then it was required. So there are strategies in place for this. But in the meantime, if you were suddenly standing in that country that you blinked and now they suddenly don't speak your language anymore, if they had a board for you with pictures of all the things that you really needed, and you could just touch that picture and it will translate for you into that language so somebody can help get you those things, think of what a blessing that would be to you. Like, think of how helpful that would be to be able to just push this button and now somebody understands what it is that I want and they help me. Or I could just give them this picture and now they understand what it is I want. And while they're giving it to me, they could let me know what the word is for that represents that item that I just showed them the picture of. And next time, maybe I won't need the picture. Maybe I'll remember the word that they modeled and I can use that and cut out the middle picture. But if I need the picture, it's there. Right? So think of it that way for your child. It's not in place of speech. It's to help them communicate effectively until they become more fluent with speech. on this. So you can use devices, you can use apps with pictures that your child touches to produce words. You can use pictures. You can go on and search on Google. You can go and search juice pecs, horse pecs. I want pecs, pecs nouns, pecs verbs, and it will show you the board maker picture, like the picture on the screen that says I want, with the little picture of the boy pointing to himself with his hand up. That's an example of a board maker picture. The picture of chocolate with the chocolate bar and the little chocolate kiss, that is a board maker picture for pecs that represents chocolate, right? So you can Google search and anything and put PECS, it stands for Picture Exchange Communication System, PECS. You can get any picture you need for your child to be able to use until they get better with their speech, right? Or you could just search images, break please, and you might get an image of a little picture like this with the person leaning up on their chair with their feet up on their desk, and it just says break please on it. So whatever works for your child, you can take a picture and print out that picture of the actual cup that holds their actual juice. So when they want the actual juice, they can hand you the picture of the cup, and then you can give them that cup, or they can point to the picture of the cup. Or they could touch the picture of the cup on their iPad, and then their iPad says, can I have juice, please, in my blue cup, or just juice, or I want juice, depending on your child's, because again, we also want to program the device with the one-up rule as well. So if your child is nonverbal, we want to program the device with single words. If your child is starting to use single words, we want to program the device with 2 words or require 2 pictures. But I get ahead of myself. Here are some examples of assistive and augmentative communication devices. Okay, there are examples. One of them is on a watch that's called Go Talk Go, and it has certain pictures on there, and the child presses a picture, and then it only has enough space for a couple of pictures. In that way, it is limited, but it's also with your child at all times, and you can put their most salient things that they need on there, their most important 3 things, and they can ask at any time. They don't have to go and look for a picture or carry a book with them. It's right there. The middle picture and the end picture are examples of other augmentative devices that are developed for this. The Go Talk 20 has 20 spots. There are Go Talk 20 Plus. It's a communication device. It has 25 spots, and they're like smaller pictures. So if your child is already using a communication system like this, and they can discriminate, they can scan 25 pictures to find the picture they want. This is a great option because you have more choices on the board. But if your child is just learning and they can't scan that many, you might want to use something like the Go Talk 9 Plus, where they only have 12 spots, and you don't have to use all 12. Maybe you cover 3 or 4 of them with just a white card, and you only keep a few of them open until your child can scan a larger field, and then you can open up the spots so they can see all of the buttons on the device. But if scanning 12 pictures is too much, then only have 3 pictures available for your child. If 20 pictures is too much, then use a device that has smaller pictures. And again, the apps on the iPad, like the Tap to Talk or Pro Local to Go, I believe you can also individualize. So if you only want 4 boxes up on the screen, and I know there are programs that do that, then you can only have 4 boxes up on the screen. You can individualize that. If you want 20 boxes, you can put 20 boxes. If you only want 4, you can put 4, and then build up as your child gets more and more successful. You also want to provide opportunities for your child to speak. Oh, well, Melissa, what do you mean by that? I want my child to speak. Of course, I'm providing opportunities for them to speak. Well, it's natural to feel the urge to fill in language when a child doesn't immediately respond. So if you ask a child a question and it's a yes or no question, you're like, hey, honey, do you want this? And they reach for it, but they don't say anything. You might fill that in and be like, yeah, okay, you want this. Okay, sure, here you go. Instead of letting that silence sit, giving your child the opportunity, maybe they need a little extra processing time. Maybe they know in their head what they want, but it's taking time to process through their brain to their mouth for them to get their mouths to make the right movements, to get the right sounds to come out. Some kids have additional issues like aphasia and apraxia that makes it difficult to get the word to come out of your mouth the right way. So some kids just need a little extra processing time in order to get that to happen until they become, just like anything. Once you become fluent with it, you can do it quickly and easily. But at the beginning, you might stutter with it a little bit. You might stumble with it a little bit. It might be a little harder for you to do at the beginning, right? So it's important to give your child lots of opportunities to communicate, even if they're not talking. So when you ask a question or see that your child wants something, pause for several seconds while looking at him or her expectantly. Okay, like an expectant look. You want to watch for any sound or body movement and respond promptly. The promptness of your response helps your child feel the power of communication. So if I know my child wants this juice, right? They've kind of been looking at it. I can just tell that they want this. And I'm just kind of holding it and I'm giving them that expectant look. And I'm looking at the juice and I'm looking at them. And I'm just waiting. And now my child starts to move towards it. I can now be like, oh, this, do you want this? Here, right? So I can model the rest of the point and give it to my child. Or if they make any sound whatsoever, I could be like, oh, juice, here you go. Even though they said nothing that sounds like juice, consider it an approximation of the word, an approximation of a sound in that word. Okay, just getting any vocalization is teaching your child that I have to make a sound with my face in order to get you to help me with something or give me something or to let you know what thing it is that I want. It gives them that power, that cause effect relationship we were talking about before. This is the beginning of that. Okay, and it's got to be quick because if too much time passes, they're not going to make that connection, right? And you want to increase your child's motivation to speak. So if you give your child everything that your child wants immediately, why should they speak? Okay, so here are some ways to increase your child's motivation to speak. And when I say, like, if you give them everything they want immediately, if your child is nonverbal, but you know when they're hungry, you know when they're thirsty, you know which toy they want, don't just give it to them. Okay, we want to hold off on that to get some better communication from your child, because just because you know what your child wants, the rest of the world doesn't speak your child's individual language like you do. They're not going to be able to respond. So your child is only going to be able to communicate with you. And that closes off options to them. We want to open options for your child, okay? So you have to give them the opportunity to ask for things, right? If your child's having difficulty with something, don't rush in and help them right away. Give them a second to struggle with it, because they will either figure out how to do it for themselves, or they'll figure out how to ask you for help. Either way, they'll learn something. But if you just rush in and help them, there's no chance for them to learn anything because you already did it for them. So there's no learning opportunity there. So here are some examples of ways you can increase your child's motivation to speak. Give your child a locked box, but no key. Put a preferred movie in the player, but take the batteries out of the remote. Or just put the screen, the streaming on, but take the batteries out of the remote for that. While your child's on a swing, don't automatically push them. Give your child a coloring book, but no crayons. Give your child a sealed Tupperware or a sealed baggie with a preferred treat or preferred item inside. Give your child an iPad, but don't unlock it. And change the code first if your child knows the code. Stand in the doorway when your child wants to leave the room. Now, again, they've either got to figure out how to get around you, or they have to figure out how to ask you to move. That might be just by making eye contact with you. And then you could say, oh, move, okay, and you can move out of the way. And they'll start to look at you when they want you to do something. Then you could add the next thing. They'll look at you and maybe point to where they want to go, and then you can move out of their way. And then you can point and maybe start building up some language, right? So these are just some examples. You have to think about what activities your child likes and how can you set that up in some way. How could you sabotage that in some way to give your child the motivation to speak, right? Or if your child is just standing in front of the refrigerator, don't just give them what they want. Make them point to something, make them look at something, make them tap you, and now you can help them. You have to make them communicate with you in some way. At the beginning, it's okay for that way to be nonverbal. We will get to the verbal parts. And between you not giving them what they want immediately and you modeling, pointing to things and labeling things as you're getting things that you want, eventually that's going to click with your child and they're going to be like, oh, okay, first I only had to point to it, but now I have to do that thing with my face that he or she is doing with his or her face. And that's how I get that thing that I want. And as I always say, don't give up. Getting a nonverbal child to speak can be very challenging and can take time. If your child is demonstrating challenging maladaptive behavior during your language instruction, you might want to consult with one of the BCBAs for more assistance. If your child has a speech impairment, such as aphasia or apraxia, you might also want to consult with a speech language pathologist. There are also, you might want to explore strategies such as prompt speech if your child continues to demonstrate difficulty with verbal imitation or echoics. Prompt speech is a method where the speech pathologist will model a sound and then they will actually manipulate your child's mouth in such a way to make it more likely that they will emit that sound. And there's a prompt for every sound. A simple example would be if you want your child to say the M sound, you would just kind of press their lips together. If they now emit a sound while their lips are together, the sound that comes out is more likely to be closer to an sound than anything else. Okay. Okay. Any approximation with your lips closed is going to teach your child what they need to do with their face in order to get that sound to come out. If I wanted to use prompt for a child to say the ah sound, I would just prompt their jaw open. Okay, now any sound they emit with their jaw open is an approximation of an ah sound. Okay, there's prompts for an sound, like there's a prompt for every sound. A prompt for a G and a prompt for a C just depends on where underneath the jaw you're prompting. So there is prompt trained speech language pathologists, and they can also teach you these prompts to make it more likely that your child is going to say the sounds that you're trying to get them to say. If your child is demonstrating echolalic behavior that's interfering in their speech, consult with an SLP or the BCBA for help. So if your child is constantly echoing words or sounds in a stimmy way, and that's interfering in their speech development, then we would need some additional strategies in addition to these. But all of these strategies, this is the starting point, okay? If you've tried all of these strategies and they don't work, then we will go to the next level. And you also have to make sure that your child has all of those prerequisite skills that we were talking about at the beginning, that they're able to sit for a period of time, that they'll look at you, that they can attend for 3 to 5 minutes, that they'll follow some simple directions, that they'll imitate gross motor movements, especially approximating novel gross motor movements. So like as an example, I might not be able to do kickboxing, right? But if I took a kickboxing class and my instructor modeled a roundhouse kick, I would be able to at least approximate that roundhouse kick, even though I've never done one before, because I have the repertoire of imitation. I know how to imitate new things. If once your child gets to the point where they can approximate something novel that you've never taught them before, right? So you do this and your child kind of figures out with their fingers how to do that. Once they can do that, they're ready to start using behavior momentum, which is a different presentation that I do, to start getting those speech sounds from your child. But before they're ready to start working on behavior momentum, they have to be able to imitate gross motor movements and follow simple one-step directions like clap your hands, touch your head, touch your nose, stand up, wave, turn around, jump. They need to be able to imitate gross motor movements, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Once they can do those things, then we can use behavior momentum in order to make it more likely that we will get speech sounds from them. But as I mentioned, go through these strategies first, and then keep an eye out for those additional workshops on behavior momentum and more intensive strategies for extracting those initial speech from your child. So let's talk a little bit about our program and what we can offer you to help you get your child from whatever level your child is on to the level you want to see them get. Like with Michelle's video with Juliana. That's at the beginning of all of our workshops and all of our presentations to show everybody what's possible. Because when you look at Juliana today, you would never picture the child she was when she was nonverbal and having tantrums and crying all the time. I have a nephew who's on the spectrum, who is currently, he finished his first year at Suffolk Community College and will be entering his second year in college in the fall. He is commuting to college from home. We taught him how to drive a car last summer, and he drives himself to and from school. He has a great group of friends. When he was in high school, he was in several plays and musicals, sometimes the lead, and he developed a great group of friends in the arts program. And even though he's doing his first 2 years in college, commuting from home, he wanted to kind of assimilate himself, get used to being in college, and then he wants to go away to school in Fredonia and study the arts. So why am I telling you this story? Because when he was a child, when he was little, he was very similar to the Juliana you saw in that video. He didn't speak until he was over 4 years old. He was constantly in distress, tantruming all the time, had a variety of sensory needs, behavior issues for many years through his life. And I look at him today and you would never imagine the child that he was then. So all of you guys are in those beginning stages where you can't imagine your child developing those skills and speaking and behaving appropriately and making progress and doing all these and going to college and driving a car and having a group of friends and being the lead in a play. All of those things seem so impossible to you right now if your child is not speaking. But we were there. Michelle was there. I was there with my sister and my nephew at that time. Like, I've been there countless times with my students through their first words. We've been there. We know how to do this, right? Part of doing this is, like I said at the beginning, the kids that are the most successful are the ones whose parents are doing these things. In addition to having an ABA therapist and a BCBA. The kids that are making the most progress and have the best prognosis and the best outcomes are the ones whose parents learn how to do these things too. That's what our program can help you do. We can help you figure out what to do for your child. We have all of our BCBAs that can give you all the hows, all the programs, all of the strategies, and all the behavioral tricks and trades. We have great mindset coaches here that keep you motivated that keep you on track, that keep you coming back when you're having a rough day and when your child is just not doing what you need them to do and you're feeling stressed and you weren't able to follow through on that program that the BCBA gave you, and your child's in a soiled diaper and is having a meltdown, your other child needs help with the homework, and you've got to make dinner, okay? Being in our program can help keep you focused and keep you on that right path, even when you're having one of those days, right? We've all had those days. And there was a time where I didn't know how to do this stuff either, right? This isn't magic. This isn't something you're born with. This is something that you learn. I learned from people that knew how to do this really well. You can learn from people who know how to do this really well too. Both professionals that have studied this for years and have done it for years with other people's kids, and moms who have been in your position, who have looked at their own child and said, I need to do something and I'm not really sure how to do it for my child and needed help doing it. We're all here for you to get your child to where they need to be. And I'm going to show you how we do that. So when you ask, why should I join your program? Why should I join Champions for Our Children's Masterclass? You're going to get personalized strategies for exactly where your baby is at. You're going to get a potty trained child. We have a 100% success rate in helping people potty train their children. You will start to reconnect to your child because communication will finally be in place. We're going to help get to the root level of your child's problem behaviors, and we're going to treat the root level, not just treat the symptom. When life happens and you're having one of those days, we are going to help you get back on track. If a regression happens, we are going to tell you exactly how to handle it so regression won't happen again next time. We're going to learn from trial and error rather than quitting on our kids, because the only true failure is quitting and doing nothing and just spinning your wheels and letting nothing happen, right? That's the only true failure. We're going to teach you how to build that champion mindset so you no longer have to worry about autism every single minute of every single day. Just think about what that would be like for a second, to be able to like take a breath and focus on other things, like be able to take some time for yourself. Oh, goodness forbid, right? You'll get your independence back too in that way. So what we offer a 3-month group coaching program, and we have guaranteed results. And I'm going to explain to you what that means. What you get when you join, you get potty training, you get communication, you get problem behaviors stopped, you get social skills instruction, you get our picky eater protocol, you get mindset training to keep you in that on the straight and narrow, keep you in the right direction, even when your child is having a bad day, even when you're having a bad day, even when you feel like things are getting off track. Our mindset training helps keep you regrouped, calm, and focused, and we help you get back in the right direction. You get our support. You can stop eloping if your child is an eloper, and you get building out every month. You get lifetime access to the self-study vault of courses. You can do it in 30 days. You can take your time because you have lifetime access to our web portal. So you can go and look at these programs at any time, forever, okay? This collection of programs is what makes this program truly the Harvard of autism. So you get, what else do you get? Well, first you get lifetime access to the self-study vault. And you get 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls where you learn from the experts. 3 to 4 expert calls per week. That's a lot of training. You get Michelle, the autism mom and the life coach. You'll come to call on to craft out a personalized plan for your baby. You get BCBAs like Armando, myself, Stacy, and Julie. We will teach you how to get your child to the big 3 with effective ABA strategies that you can do at home with your child. So we give you all the how-tos, And you get the mindset coach to help keep your mindset in a place where you stay determined to help your baby, even when you're having one of those days. Everyone gets their questions answered. Everyone. Every question answered every time. So what else do you get? Well, you get the lifetime access to the study vault. You get the 3 to 4 live group coaching calls from the experts. You also get monthly calls with specialists. We have a registered dietitian who is also an autism mom. Greer is amazing. Speech language pathologist who's also an autism mom. Jessica, you're going to love Jessica. She's so down to earth and she's got such great skills as an SLP to help your child with these speech issues that we were just talking about. Like I said, everyone gets their questions answered. So what are you getting? You're getting your lifetime access to the self-study vault. You're getting your 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls. You're getting your monthly specialist calls. And you're getting the private Facebook community where you never feel alone again. You post what you need. We check the group daily. We get right back to you. Sometimes other people in the program can get back to you, tell you what worked for them, or it can just give you the support to stay focused and stay positive. Or you can email Michelle directly. When you join, we're family. Your baby is our baby. So you can email directly for help whenever you need it. Okay, support truly is our North Star. That's the whole key to our program, being able to provide you support when you need the support. So you might get a weekly call with the ABA, with the BCBA, right, on ABA strategies. And we might give you like a protocol for teaching your child to eat food that they don't really like to eat, right? So we're going to teach you, we're going to give you some strategies for that. Now, a couple of days pass and something happens that wasn't discussed during the workshop presentation, and you're not sure what to do. You don't want to have to wait a whole week for another call, right? Well, maybe Greer, the dietitian, has a call scheduled, her monthly call for that week. Or you can post your question right to the Facebook group. We could jump on and answer your questions. The dietitian might answer, the BCBA might answer, the speech language pathologist might answer, Michelle might answer. Some of the other parents might give you some suggestions again on what worked for their child, or just give you some support, like hang in there, we'll get there, it's gonna happen, don't lose faith, right? Or you could just email directly with a question and we'll get right back to you with personalized answers for you and your baby. So what are you getting? You're getting the lifetime access to the self-study vault, 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls from the experts, monthly calls with specialists, a private Facebook community, email access to Michelle in between those calls, and as I mentioned before, our action back guarantee. Like I said before, this is a 3-month coaching program. But if after 90 days, you do not get the results you came for, you can either stay in the program until you get those results, or you can get your money back. Like no risk whatsoever. You put in the money, you put in the time, you put in the effort, and if you need just more time, you've got more time. If you say, you know what, I'm trying this and it's just not for me, it didn't work, and I don't want more time, I just want my money back, you get your money back, right? So you didn't lose anything. And I'll let you know a little secret, that doesn't happen. You'll see on our end video there how happy and how satisfied the families are that we work with. We don't really have to give this back out because people aren't asking for their money back. Sometimes they might need a little extra time in the program. They're like, we're almost there. We're just not exactly where I need them to be. So you get a little bit more time until you get where you need to be. But if you did want your money back, you can get your money back. So there's no risk. And the possibility for reward is so huge. It's the possibility for all those things we were talking about before: communication with your child, potty training, not worrying about autism every minute of every day, like all of those things that we've been talking about, having your child potty trained, having them more communicative with you, getting behaviors under control, no more elopement, all of those things. Such a possibility for the reward and no risk. What more can you ask for? So, what are you getting when you join? Well, you're getting lifetime access to the self-study vault, 3 to 4 weekly live group coaching calls from the experts, monthly calls with the specialists, the private Facebook community, access to email Michelle in between those calls, the action back guarantee, and some bonuses because you guys are here for this particular workshop. You will get one private session with Michelle and a private session with the BCBA of your choice. Okay, so that is a 20-minute private session with Michelle and a 20-minute private session with any one of the BCBAs of your choice. Myself, with Julie, with Armando, with Stacy, whoever you want. Bonus number 1. Okay, so when you join, you're getting lifetime access to the self-study vault, 3 to 4 live group coaching calls, monthly calls with the specialists, private Facebook community, emailing in between the calls, your action back guarantee of staying in the program until you get the results you're looking for or getting your money back, the bonus private session with Michelle and with the BCBA. The second bonus, you get 5 months in the program instead of 3. So before you even need to ask for any more time, you're paying for 3 months, but you're getting 5. So you are so lucky that you're a part of this presentation tonight. These are great bonuses that we are offering for you. That's 70 plus calls to change your lives. 5 months right off the bat. So you could just stay and keep getting, you already made your all in progress in 3 months. Well, you could check out another 2 months worth of stuff and learn some extra stuff. Just get a little further ahead than you even thought you were going to get. Or, wow, I would have had to ask for extra time because we're getting to reach that point where we want to be, but we're just not there yet. Well, you don't even have to ask for the extra time. You already have the extra time. You've got 5 months instead of 3. And just like we said with our action back guarantee, if you're not getting the results in those 5 months, then you stay until you do, or you get your money back. Still no risk. Bonus 3, you get $500 off the program if you join by midnight. So that is a lot of money off of the price of this program just because you're signing up from tonight's workshop. Okay, so you are getting 3 bonuses in addition to all of the standard benefits of joining our program. So what is it? What is the investment? Well, with the $500 off, it's an investment of $24.97 or 3 payments of $878 or 4 payments of $660. Now, even though it sounds like a lot of money when you look at the total price right off the bat, when you think about it, it's only $16 a day for 70 calls that can change your life, that can change the life of your child. $16 a day. Just think about what you blow $16 a day on. Like, I know I can blow $16 a day on, like, easily. And this could change your life. $16 a day for just a couple of months. And your baby's life opens up to all these possibilities and opens up to all these options. All bonuses go away Sunday at midnight. So when I said before, you have to sign up tonight by midnight to get that $500 off, guess what? You've got till Sunday midnight. So if you need a minute to think about it, even though I don't know why you would need to think about it, like no risk, all the possibility of reward. But if you need a day or two to think about it, you've got until midnight Sunday. If you join our program by midnight on Sunday, you will get all of the bonuses plus all of the standard benefits of joining our program. All you have to do is click the link that is in our chat box to sign up for our program. Now, Some of you might be thinking, you know what, Julianne is special. My kid's not like that. Like your nephew, that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. That's called unicorn syndrome. When you think that the child that's making the progress is that once in a lifetime kid, it's the unicorn in the sea of horses. It's just not attainable, but it's this thing that just keeps people heading in that direction. Well, let's talk about that for a minute, right? You might be thinking, Juliana, her nephew, different than my child. My child has severe autism. Well, let me tell you, Juliana had severe autism. My nephew had severe autism, okay? I've also worked with individuals, with children, with teens, with adults that have severe autism. I've worked with adults who are nonverbal. I've worked with adults who are not toilet trained. I've worked with adults that are really severely impaired by autism. We've still made progress and we've still got them communicating and we still got them to where we want them to be. This works for other kids, but it won't work for mine. My child is broken or I'm broken. So it doesn't matter if the program's good, it's just not going to work for us. There's nothing out there that's going to change the trajectory for my child. Unicorn syndrome is a self-preservation state because if you stay here, you never put yourself out there. You don't have these hopes and dreams for your baby. And then if it doesn't happen, you don't get hurt, right? It's a way to protect yourself. It's a defense mechanism. It's subconsciously saying, I can't risk trying and failing because I won't survive it. But the risks of failure are not here with this program because you can stay in the program until you get the results you want. You have a variety of experts helping you. You don't just have one person that was assigned to you because you just happen to live in this school district. So this is the person that's going to work with your child. Or I just so happen to live in this town and this is the one BCBA that's available and has time in their schedule. No, you have a team of experts. You have a team of specialists, and you have a team of autism moms who have been right in the position that you're in. I have had to do this with my nephew, not my own child. Michelle and the speech language pathologists in Greer, they've had to do this with their own children. They've been where you're at. They've had to watch their child struggle with something instead of jumping in and helping them. That would be easier and faster and less heartbreaking in the moment. But it's paid off. So your reward for attending this workshop, book the program by Sunday at midnight, and you will get the private session with Michelle, the private session with the BCBA, 5 months in the program instead of 3, and $500 off the price, because typically it would be $500 more than what we are quoting you. All bonuses go away Sunday after midnight. So click the link in the chat box, please, and in your email when you signed up. So I told you before, you were going to get a chance to hear from some of the families that we work with directly so that you can hear straight from the horse's mouth, as it were, what this program has done for other parents who have been right where you're at, who have seen one of our workshops or seen one of our programs and have had to make the decision whether or not to sign up for our program. So let's hear what some of them have had to say.
So I guess I wanted to start asking you, what were your biggest struggles prior to joining the program?
You know, I was going around and looking for organizations. I was looking for help.
So I started looking up online and I'm like, I really need somebody who's been through.
There's no access to any kind of services over here in Ireland. Googling stuff and trying to find something. I joined because I have a 3-year-old autistic son. So I knew I had to do something that I didn't know
what to do.
Everything seems to be waitlisted or just not available. To break it down to him, I had to have somebody break it down to me.
And that really got me worried. It got my husband worried and thinking, okay, we need to speak their PD.
I think my biggest struggle was understanding their potential.
I actually didn't know, like I was kind of relying on just the speech therapist.
I came in just feeling very helpless, very confused. What can I do now that I haven't already done? You know, what would be the harm? What can I lose?
Before participating, we weren't making as much progress. It was slow progress.
I believe that I found you on Instagram.
She is very turned off by a lot of doctors and therapists and things. I went back and forth and I'm like, okay, she's going to start ABA therapy on this day. And I told them that was my #1 goal.
As everyone would be, I was a little skeptical because of how many times I have tried with Alexander.
On one end, I'm hearing, okay, she's, artistic and, you qualify for a lot of services. And when I go and try to inquire about, we can't service her.
All right, so now, I guess, where are you now? You and your child, now that you've joined the program?
They're doing really, really well. Doing really, really well. I think their ABA program here is wonderful. We got very lucky with that.
One word here or there, what it was that he wanted, but not necessarily saying I want it would be apple or this or that. And that has totally blossomed. And now following like what the BCBA said, which is starting really small.
Okay, so where I am now is where I kind of know that I'm in charge.
The changes in him in less than 2 months, I think I've been like 6 weeks, are miraculous. The behaviors are decreased. The stimming has decreased. The listening to directions has increased. The language has increased.
I just, set those goals for myself and cross them off and once I did that for me, turn my focus 100% and then I was able to get the work done.
You helped me formulate the confidence in myself to realize I'm ready to really go for it. I would not have gotten through it. It went so much better than I ever could have imagined.
I started listening to tips from Michelle. He's doing so much better. More eye contact for sure. We're working on talking, on saying some words.
Yeah, it went really well. Like the tips you guys gave me.
It doesn't seem like this big impossible thing.
I just been given something so precious.
He's more verbal, right direction, and I'm so happy to be part of this program.
We never in a million years thought that it would happen this early.
He's making a lot more sounds. He's now at that point where he's no longer frustrated since you and all of the teachers have given me all of the ideas and the strategies.
We all want our children to succeed, and it's just been wonderful.
Would you recommend our programs to any moms or dads that are going through this right now?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I would definitely prefer anyone to this.
Yes, definitely. You guys need to do this program. It'll change you guys and your child's life tremendously.
100%. I do recommend it. You learn something new.
I would definitely suggest to go through this program for at least first 4 to 6 months.
This program has allowed that, and I'm really grateful for that.
Take this course, do the one-on-ones, listen and absorb everything that this team has to offer.
You guys have a gift. And you're sharing it, and that's amazing.
So I will recommend you to anybody, whoever is out there.
It's been really great. It's been really great. And
This is going to help you. You can learn through other parents' experiences.
Just do it. Don't hold back. Just go all in with your daughter or your son, and I promise you will definitely see results.
I love that video too.
So I guess
wait,
I wanted
I
to.
don't want to play it again now. Okay, so we are now going to open it for question and answer. First, before I open it for live questions, I just want to look in the Q&A box. So we have a question from Nikisha James. Apologize if I mispronounced your name. How can you determine if when a child begins to talk, it's as a result of speech therapy or intervention versus just getting to the age where it just happens? I ask this because my daughter has been in speech therapy for almost a year. She babbles a lot, and sometimes I feel like she is talking, but I have no idea what she's saying. Her receptive language is intact, but no words. She's 3 years old and starting special ed this September. Well, the way that you know if your child is starting to make progress as opposed to it just happening anyway is the kind of rate of progress your child was making before the intervention, and then if there's a significant increase in that progress after the intervention. If she's starting to do things that she wasn't able to do before, it's a result of your being consistent, of the intervention teaching her those skills, and it's the combination of both. Because for kids on the spectrum, and I know this because I've worked in the field for 30 years and I've seen teenagers and adults who did not get the right intervention, and it didn't just happen naturally. That's just one of the things about this particular disability, is that it's not, if it isn't already coming, it's not going to just come from nowhere. You need that intensive, because like I said, the children are already getting their needs met somehow. So why should I change that? It's like, well, I'm speaking English. Why should I suddenly start speaking this strange new language? If English is working for me, why would I start speaking something else, right? So it's a lot of things, but the biggest thing is if they're making progress, that's the important piece, is that they're making progress, and you want to continue building and building and building on that progress. And if you start to learn these skills that the other therapists have, you'll be able to fade the therapy back and still maintain that progress, because you'll be the one who's doing it. You'll be the one who's being contingent. So it's all about that consistency. I'm a grandmother, Suzanne Keene, who doesn't live near my grandson. I have, can I get more time to send the DV? Oh, okay, yeah, so we will definitely get back to you, Suzanne, about getting the access to the video. Tomorrow is Friday, not Sunday. Bonuses stay until Sunday. Yes, I'm sorry, when we were updating the presentation, it's usually a midnight that night thing, but for this particular workshop, we are extending the deadline for all of the bonuses until Sunday. So if you join after Sunday, you will just get the standard benefits to the program, but it will cost you an additional $500. You will not get the bonus session with Michelle and the BCBA. But if, as long as you sign up before midnight on Sunday, all the bonuses will stay. Can I have a copy of this evening's class? Yes, absolutely. You will be able to come back and review this video time and time again. So I am now going to take a look at participants and see who has their hands raised. I see there are a few people who already have their hands raised. Colette Lewis, I see your hand is raised. If you would like to unmute your mic, I would be more than happy to answer any question that you might have. Colette, are you there? Colette Lewis, if you still have a question, I know you might have raised your hand earlier in the presentation. If you are there and you would like to unmute your mic, I would be more than happy to answer your question. Otherwise, I will move on to the next person on the list, but I will come back and give you another opportunity in case you just couldn't unmute your mic in time. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the next person, Karika Newkirk. Karika, C-A-R-E-K-A. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Newkirk, if you would like to unmute your mic, I would be more than happy to answer your question. Karika, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. If you would like to ask a question, I am here for you right now. Okay, let's keep moving right along. We will come back. We will circle back around, provided that there is time. Let's move down to Adela. Adela, I'm sorry, I'm going to trash your last name. Jona, G-J-O-N-A. Adela, if you have your, If you unmute your mic, I would be more than happy to answer your question. Adela Jana, I think.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Good. How are you? So I have a son. He is 4 years old. And he's on everything like ABA programs, speech therapist, OT, PT, you name it, he has it. Now my concern is we are in that echoing stage. Like he can pronunciate everything that we can stimulate him to do it. But he cannot make that conversation in his own.
Okay.
So he can say everything. Like he'll pull me in and I'll say, "Are you hungry?" He'll say, "Are you hungry?" And I'll say, "I'm hungry." He said, "I'm hungry." But I cannot make him to have that conversation first. Like, hungry. I know he's capable to say it. I know he's capable to do that, but I cannot make him to go in that point for him to stimulate that conversation by himself.
Right. So that's a very common issue, is that whole echoing. It's called echolalia. And what happens is the child gets a lot of reinforcement for imitating, and they've learned to imitate exactly. So he's not necessarily discriminating between what you're modeling and what you want him to say, right? This happens a lot of times when we're teaching pronouns too, right? So if I'm saying like I want the child to say you, and when I say you, I want the child to say I, and it's very confusing, right? It's the same thing with this. You say, "How are you?" You want the child to say fine, but instead they say, "How are you?" because they're just echoing you. So some of it is going to be on you at first. You're going to have to get used to at the beginning, when you know what your child wants, instead of asking the question, give him the response you want him to say. So instead of asking your child, "Are you hungry?" say, "I'm hungry," and just let your child imitate that. Now you can reinforce that and say, "Oh, you're hungry. Okay." And then you could give them the option of two things. You could say, and if you know what they want, so I would say offer one thing that your child wants and one thing that you know that they're not thrilled about, or that they usually don't pick. And so say, as an example, you know they like chicken nuggets and you know that they don't like vegetables, right? You could say, "Do you want chicken nuggets or vegetables?" "Chicken nuggets, please." Right? So you're asking the question, but you're tacking the answer on to the end of the question so he can imitate the end piece of it. So I could say, as an example, "Do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli?" "I want chicken nuggets, please." And then I could start with the I to get him to start there. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Start there and practice that. Over time, you'll see him start to use the right phrase, and then you can stop modeling the whole answer. So you can eventually go to, "Do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli?" And now he'll say, "I want chicken nuggets," right? So you can start him off on the phrase he started to get used to saying.
Okay.
Okay. And I would review that with the speech language pathologist and the BCBA that you're working with, so they can do it as well. And they can help you and they can show you how to model that and everything.
Okay.
Okay. And please come back and let me know if it helps.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I've been there and it's worked very well with a lot of other kids. So if that doesn't help you, I can give you other strategies, but try that one.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, let's see. Colette Lewis, are you available to speak? If you would like, just unmute your mic and I would be more than happy to answer your question. Hi.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Oh, I am great. I don't know what was happening. I wasn't able to unmute before.
That happens sometimes. That's why I said, don't worry, we will circle back, because I know sometimes that's a problem. So what can I do for you?
So my son is 5 years old. He sings, He reads. He will just come up if something is somewhere on the wall or something is happening on the television. He will just come and he will just read what is there, but he
Wow.
won't speak to us any at all. He started being potty trained about 3 weeks ago. And
Mhm.
so he's now, I would say to him, want to pee? And he would come to me and say, want to pee? But he says that not when he wants to use the bathroom, not when he wants to go there. So
Okay.
he has some language. He is able to follow instructions and all of that. But I can't get him to, to say when he wants to pee, or want water, or want tea, or mommy, or daddy, or anything like that.
Okay, so just like I was just recommending to the woman I was speaking to just a moment ago, one of the things that you can do is when you ask the question, you can tack on the answer so that he can get used to. You can do one or two things. You can either start giving the answer before you even ask the question. So instead of saying like, are you hungry? Just say, I'm hungry. So he can just imitate, I'm hungry. And then over time, you can fade that prompt out and he'll already have gotten reinforced for saying I'm hungry and then getting food, right? Or you can tack the answer onto the end of your question. So like the example I was using with her is, if you know your child likes chicken nuggets but doesn't like vegetables, you could present both and say, do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli? I want chicken nuggets, right? Or you could say, do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli? Chicken nuggets. So you're tacking the answer right onto the end, and he'll start to learn to imitate just the end piece of it. And when you're practicing it, you could even start him off with the little prompt. So you could say, do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli? I want chicken nuggets. So now you're starting the prompt with the I, and he'll know like, oh, I have to imitate from there over.
Okay.
And then over time, you'll see that you won't have to imitate, you won't have to model the whole rest of the answer. So you'll be able to say, do you want chicken nuggets or broccoli? I want, and then he'll finish it. He'll go, I want chicken nuggets. So
do you think that could work with when he wants to use the bathroom, instead
yes.
of me saying wants to pee, I'd say I want to pee, and he would,
Yes.
it
And
could
the
work?
other thing I would add with the bathroom in addition, are you using like time training with him?
So initially I started to do that, where I would take him like every 15 minutes and so on, but then that wasn't working. So I would time him to say, all right, every 10 o'clock and every 2 o'clock, or at specific hours,
Okay.
I would just take him and I'd say want to pee, and he would just sit on the potty and pee at that
Okay.
particular time. So
Okay.
that happens. But if I
So what
miss,
I would do is when that time comes, so say as an example, you're going to take him at 2 o'clock. When that timer, when set an alarm for 2 o'clock, a special alarm with a special sound. When that
okay,
alarm goes off, model for him, I want to pee, have him imitate, I want to pee, bring him into and praise him as you're bringing him into the bathroom. Oh, good, you told mommy you want to pee. And then as soon as he pees, give him a reinforcer. So that way he'll pair hearing the cue that I have to use the bathroom and saying I need the bathroom. And over time, the cue will not be the timer and will start to be from his bladder. And he'll have that initiation already in his mind already. If you were time training him, then I would say when you take him every 15 minutes, again, as you're walking into the bathroom, you can have him point to a PEX picture of the bathroom, and you can have him then model, I want to pee as he's touching the picture, and then he'll start to learn. Every time I touch the picture, I go into the bathroom, and every time I touch the picture, I say I want to pee. So before I go in the bathroom, I touch this and say I want to pee, and eventually it'll become a habit to tell you I want to pee before he goes into the bathroom.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
try
Thank you
that
very
and
much.
please come back and let me know how it's
I
going,
will
because if
definitely
that
let
doesn't
you
work,
know.
I can give you another suggestion.
And thank you very much. And also with the potty training, it was from one of these workshops that you guys were having that I learned how to help him to do it. And I'm
so
so
glad
very
to hear
proud of
that.
him that after 3 weeks now, he's able to sit. He hasn't had any accidents in the past. over a
Oh,
week now, he hasn't had any
way to
accidents.
go for both
So
of you.
thank you
That's
guys very
wonderful
much.
news. It's
Right.
really good to hear that. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Okay, and thanks again.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, Suzanne Keen. I know I read one of your questions from the chat box, but if you would like to unmute, please, I would be happy to speak with you. Hi.
Hi,
What can I
I'm
do for
the,
you?
well, I'm the long distance grandma and
Okay.
only see my grandson, oh, maybe twice a year for a week or so at a time. Now, what they're doing with him, he was in speech therapy at school. The DC school system has wonderful provisions for children with special needs.
Yes.
And he would see that person twice a week. And then they were going to another speech therapist on Saturdays, but they quit seeing patients on weekends. So he's just getting the 2 weeks. Now, this last time that I was with him, which was a couple weeks ago, he was talking a lot more than I had seen him at Christmas time.
That's
and like he'll say juice, and his parents will say use all your words, and he'll give this cute little with those big blue eyes look and say, can I have some juice, please? So I mean, it's not like, and Steve says, you want to just pull your hair out, because it's like he knows what to say. He doesn't even need all these prompts. He just chooses not to.
Okay,
Or
you know
is
why?
that
You want to know why? His life is hard. It's already hard, right? Everything can be confusing and unpredictable and takes more effort for him than it might take for another child. So he's already doing hard things all day long. And it's human nature to want to give yourself a little bit of a break. So if I'm always climbing uphill, if I've got an opportunity to coast, I'm going to take it, right? So if I can get away with only using 1 or 2 words when speaking is hard for me in general, I'm only going to use 1 or 2 words. But if I have to use all of them, then I will. But if I don't have to, I'm not gonna. Over time, as he gets more and more fluent with the language, it won't be as much of an effort for him to use his words. And that's where he'll start using more and more of them, even when he doesn't have to. But for right now, it's still hard for him. So he's not going to go out of his way to make his already hard life even harder without a real big payoff. But it'll come. He just has to get more fluent with it. It's like when you're first learning to practice the piano, right? You're first learning to play the piano. Your mom has to make you sit down and practice, and it's a chore to sit down and practice. But once you're really good at playing the piano, like you do it for pleasure, you sit down, you'll play songs, it'll be nice, it'll be fun, it's easy. Because now you know what you're doing. It's not so much of an effort. You don't have to think about it so much. It's not work, it's fun. For right now, speaking is work, but eventually it'll be fun.
So should I, when I'm with him, encourage him to use all your words?
Yes.
Yeah,
The more he
okay.
practices using all of his words, the more fluent he'll be with all of his words. He's probably pretty fluent with the main words like juice or cookie or bathroom. Like those he's had a lot of practice with. Now he needs to practice more with the can I have blank please, because those are the words he needs more practice with so that he's as fluent with them as the words he's already used to.
So what can I do long distance when it's, a waste of your time and my money to buy this program when I see him twice a year? I'm going to talk to his parents and see if they're interested, but what can I do from a distance?
Zoom is great. Zoom is really, really helpful. So I see students, I live in New York and I work with students in Utah because I could do it through Zoom. So it's not like you can't make progress with a child long distance. You just have to do it consistently and have a goal for each time you're interacting with him. So if you say like, I'm going to call him 3 times a week, I'm going to Zoom with him. And during that Zoom time, this is the goal I'm going to have for him. I'm going to have the goal that he's not going to use just 1 or 2 words when I ask him a question. He's going to use a full sentence. And then once he's using a full sentence for my questions, my next goal for him is going to get for him to ask me a question back. Right? So we can have a little bit of a back and forth. And then when he's doing that, you can have a different goal for him. So if this is something that you want to help them with, you could do that once a week, twice a week, couple times a week. And it doesn't have to be for a long period of time. It could be a 15-minute targeted special, like call with grandma, where we're working on blank. Maybe you can show him pictures of things and work on him describing them with a full sentence. Maybe mom can have him make pictures and color pictures, and when you're on the phone with him, he can show you and just tell me about that picture. Dog, tell
See,
me
he
all
doesn't,
your words, things like that.
he doesn't get to that point. When I Zoom with him, he's glued to Peppa Pig or, all these things that he sees on the television or his iPad that, and I don't get that. I mean, can you see me?
No, there's no video right now. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay. Well, like if we were both on video, you and I would be looking at each other.
Yes.
Don't have that at all with him.
So that would be the first goal for you, would be for you to have him looking at you during the Zoom call. So the first thing I would recommend as a BCBA is to let mom know, I'm going to call him at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. When I call him, make sure there's no screen time on. So that way you're not taking him away from screen time, right? He gets screen time after he has his Zoom call with grandma. So now your Zoom call is going to be reinforced by getting access to the video after he has a nice call with grandma. And maybe the first part is you hold up something in front of the screen and he has to touch it. Right? And you just move it in different spots to make sure that he's paying attention to you. And it's a game, like make it like a game. We're going to play a game with grandma on Zoom today. She's going to hold something up on the screen and you're just going to touch it. That's all you have to do. And just to get him to focus on you, make it really quick. And then you're all done. And then he gets Peppa Pig. Now he's going to start to look forward to your call, because after your call, he gets his favorite video. And you're going to get him to start looking at the screen when he's interacting with you. And then you can start to build up from there, like really slowly and surely. And we can give you suggestions on like how to do that. But I would also recommend trying to get your either son and daughter, right, to join in and to join the program, because then they could also learn all these strategies and they could be doing it all the time with him. And then you could just supplement.
Yeah, they just get so frustrated. They're so tired when they come home from work.
I know
that they're like fried.
I know. We've been there. I've been there with my nephew. My sister's in the field. She would help other people with their kids all day, come home and be like spent. And now she has a son with autism and he had a lot of needs, but doing it together and having the support of the team and all the different specialists and the parents and the Facebook group, it helps, because we can help like target. We can give them one thing, like they're looking at their son and they're saying like, there's so many things to work on. There's so many things we have to do. And we're just too overwhelmed. We can't sit and do therapy with him for 3 hours at the end of the night. It doesn't have to be that. We could give them something to do for 15 minutes every day until he's ready for the next step. And if they're just doing one thing at a time, they're going to feel successful. He's going to get more progress. They're going to want to do more. They're going to find a way to fit it in. We're going to make it more fun and not overwhelming for them. Because sometimes there's just so many things to work on. It's like, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't, I can't even start. I don't know where to start. So having somebody to help, like, here are all the steps we're going to take. And all you have to do is this one thing until you're good at it. And then we'll talk about what comes next. Can really take that pressure off as a parent to say, it's okay that I only do one thing and I let everything else go, but I get good at this one thing. Then I'll get good at the next thing. But doing that with support is easier than doing it alone.
Yeah. Well, he seems to be very smart. I mean, honest to goodness,
Sounds it.
he can read. And he'll sit in his
That's
bed.
another good thing. You can use words as prompts for what you want him to say and what you
Yeah.
want him. So you could write out something and he can read it, and that can, so now you don't have to verbally prompt something, or they don't have to verbally prompt something. They read it, they write it down, he reads it, and now it seems like he said it without a prompt. And eventually you just get rid of the visual.
Oh, okay.
I love kids that can read because it takes the prompt off me and I could just write things down, and now it seems like they're doing it more independently. And then over time, we just get rid of that.
He just seems to, you can just sort of see the wheels turning, and he's like,
I love it.
well, how can I get around doing this? You
Yeah.
know?
The kids are the best behavior analysts. They find all the loopholes, and then we just have to plug them.
I can't tell you when he's ever eaten a vegetable.
My nephew was the same way. My sister, also in the field, would call me crying. Oh, listen, can you please come over and get him to eat anything but peanut butter and jelly? Like, he would eat peanut butter and jelly 3 meals a day, 7 days a week if we let him.
No, this is the chicken nugget king.
Yep. That's a big one for a lot of my students. It's the carbs. It's chicken nuggets, it's fries, it's stuff like that.
Breads.
But now my nephew, he has a much more balanced diet. Vegetables may not be his favorite, but he'll have them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what a challenge.
It'll get you. We can get there. It's easier to do as a group, right? Sometimes it takes a village. So talk to your kids about it and see what they say. And if they're interested, then they got till Sunday at midnight and they get all those bonuses too.
Okay, can you send me the link to this session so they can kind of see what it's all about?
I can ask our tech support, Jen. Could you maybe be able to take care of that?
Yes, actually right after this meeting or coaching call, we are going to send everybody a recording, and where they can join the program.
Perfect. So everybody is going to get a copy. So
yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Along with the presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And please, Suzanne, regardless, come back and let me know how things are going.
I will. Thank you.
Absolutely. We are going to do our raffle in just a second. I know that there are people that still have their hands up, but I have to do a hard stop because it's almost 8 o'clock. I just want to let everybody know that we will be doing our next workshop on elopement on September 14th. It's a Thursday, September 14th, on elopement. And the reason we're doing it in September is because 1/3 of the cases of kids that elope or wander occur at school. A third of the kids will elope from their classroom or from their school building. And kids are also more likely to elope from new and unfamiliar environments, or environments where there are high demands or stress. And for kids that are entering a new school year with sometimes a new classroom or a new teacher or a new building or new peers, etc., or even just after being home for whether it's a few weeks or a few months, getting back into the grind of having those demands can make it more likely that a child who will elope from school. So we will be doing a workshop on elopement on September 14th, and I will be doing our next parent group next Thursday on increasing compliance with your child at home for all of the members of our CFOC group. So I hope to see you guys at our next workshop, and I hope that you all sign up for our program so I can see you at our next parent group meeting as well. Are you ready to do the raffle, the spin thing, Jen? Let's see who is our winner for tonight. Cindy, congratulations. All right, way to go. You've won one session with the coach of your choice. Congratulations to you. That's a fantastic prize. Thank you guys so much for your attention tonight. My apologies for anyone whose question I was not able to answer tonight. I really thank you for your attention and your time, and I look forward to speaking with you guys again at our next workshop in September. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Join our program. Click that link. Join up. Lots of rewards, no risk. We'll see you soon. Bye.